Hello, my friends. We have 25 horses to cover in 10 minutes, so let's get right to it. Looking at Lucky is my number one contender for the Kentucky Derby so far. You probably won't see him on many other top 10 or top 12 lists as number one, but you do here. I'm not sure what other people don't like about him. After all, he's won 5 out of 6 races, including 3 Grade 1s, and the other one was a graded stakes race as well. The only race he lost was the BC Juvenile, also a Grade 1 race, and he barely lost that one in a hard-fought effort. He hasn't raced yet this year. I guess some people are concerned about that. I'm not concerned at all. He's raced on Polytrack only in California, but he's by Smart Strike. I mean, what Smart Strike colt is not going to like the dirt? He's going to be fine switching over to dirt whenever that occurs. Just keep in mind his pace figures and speed figures there. They're going to look lower than a lot of the other horses that have run on dirt, primarily because the figures are always slower on Polytrack. He's up next in the San Felipe Grade 2 on March 13th. Look forward to seeing him there. He's my number one Derby horse right now. Rule is my number 2 this week. He was number 2 last week as well. I think he's the top horse in Todd Pletcher's barn. He's won 2 Grade 3s. He's won 3 in a row. He's a top Breeze Prime Power horse. Did you know that? He's one of 3 horses that are 3-year-olds that have a triple-digit pace figure. And he also has a triple-digit Breeze figure. He has decent late pace, and I expect to see him up next in the Tampa Bay Derby. He is a front runner. I guess that's some people have a concern with that. It's certainly a early speed duel may compromise his chances, and especially in a longer race. But we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. For now, this horse out of Roman Ruler, he looks good. He's doing everything asked of him. He drew away in the Sam F. Davis. Looks great. Now here's the horse I'm sure you've heard all about by now. If you've been following the 3-year-olds at all, everybody except me has him ranked as number 1. Why? Because he won a race. He won the Fountain of Youth Grade 2. I want him to win more than one graded stakes race before I say he's number 1. For example, Looking at Lucky has won 3 Grade 1s. That's better than 1 Grade 2 in my book. However, all 3 of his wins were on dirt. He has good late speed. I'm not knocking him at all, but right now he's just a one-race wonder for Todd Pletcher. He doesn't even have a pace figure on dirt as good as Rule does, for example, but he has good late pace. Probably going to see him in the Florida Derby up next. The power figure there, could be an inflated figure for 2 turns at Gulfstream Park. Johns Causeway, hey look, I'm not ranking him number 1. Get over it. Speaking of Todd Pletcher, we got another one, Interactive. He's not making a lot of people's lists because he's been running on turf. Ever since he broke his maiden on dirt, his second career race, he faltered on dirt. He finished horribly, and since then he's been racing on turf. And doing quite well, I might add. In fact, he has a very good Craig late pace rating. We expect to see him next in the Santa Anita Derby. I think he's going to train straight up to that. Todd is obviously afraid to run him on dirt. So he could come into the Kentucky Derby with his only dirt races being a maiden sprint and a bad route last year. In that case, would make him a complete wild card, but he's by broken vow. I expect him to do well again on dirt at some point. Vale of York. He's the only horse that is beat Looking at Lucky. He beat him in the BC Juvenile Grade 1. He also finished second, very close second, in a Grade 1 stakes in Italy. He had an amazing Briz late pace of 118 for the BC Juvenile. And he has pretty good pace ratings for that race. But however, he's racing in Dubai, and he's going to train. His last prep is going to be the UAE Derby Grade 2 in Dubai, and then he's going to ship over here. Let's face it, Saeed doesn't have a real good batting average over here in the Kentucky Derby. And if this were Bob Baffert training him in California, he would probably be my number 1 ranked colt. As it is, best he's going to do is number 5. Conveyance, speaking of Bob Baffert, he's undefeated. He won the Southwest Grade 3, the Raphael Grade 3. Given those were both at a mile. But I don't know what more you want of him right now. He's an Indian Charlie colt. He's a sprinter stretching out. He's undoubtedly the fastest 3-year-old. He has a best pace figure of 106. He has a triple-digit Briz. Not much of a late space. He does all of his running early, much like Indian Charlie. Next up in the Rebel, it's going to stretch out a little bit more to 8.5 furlongs. I don't expect that to be too much of an issue. but he's very fast. Colt Indian Charlie, you may not remember, but he actually sprinted his way to a third place finish in the Kentucky Derby for Bob Baffert. Could be looking at the same kind of horse here. Jackson Ben was my number one last week. He's not my number one this week. I forgave him of the second place finish in the Holy Bowl. He was still number one for me. But then second in the Fountain of Youth, 8 lengths behind Excenderea. Given none of the other horses, beat him. But before that, he had better form at Calder, where he earned one of those triple-digit pace figures, and he earned that Best Brews, which was a route race, by the way, 106 for an 8.5 furlong stakes, a $400,000 stakes at Calder. This is a pretty good. He does have speed and he does have class. He's by Hear No Evil out of Carson City, and Nick Zito is a good trainer. I'm not going to make excuses for him, man. He hung up in the stretch 2 races in a row at Gulfstream Park. Maybe, like Nick is thinking, he just doesn't like the Gulfstream Park surface. So he's shipping it up to the Aqueduct, and he's going to run in the wood. And if he likes that service a lot better than Gulfstream, I guarantee he's going to do well there. Kevin Cortado, that means Scarface, for those of you who don't habla. He won the Robert B. Lewis Grade 2, and he's undefeated in 5 starts. What more do you people want? He's out of a Stormcat pedigree. Maria's Mon on the dam side, and he's next up in the San Felipe versus Looking at Lucky. Some other quality horses. We'll see what he's really about at that point, but for so far, so good. Undefeated. David Dixie was right behind him in the Lewis. Very late, very good late charge in that race, as he does always, running well down the stretch, late pace composite figure of 93. He's going to be in the San Felipe also. No picture because, I don't know, nobody has a picture of him. They all copy it from one site, and the person who was supposed to post it, like Cindy Pearson Dulé, did not post a picture. Consequently, nobody could copy it over and spread it around all their sites, and we don't have it either. Noble's Promise is my next horse. He's probably not on a lot of people's radars, but he did finish 1, 2, and 3 in 3 Grade 1 races. And he hasn't run on dirt yet. He's been running on Polytrack, but that's okay. I don't have a problem with that. He has a Raisin Native sire line. I think he's going to do fine either way. And Ken McPeak knows something or two about winning a Triple Crown race at odds of 90-1. He's next up in the Rebel at 8.5 furlong. I expect him to do well. Move on to the Derby and hopefully get a good price on him there. Dublin, boy, he really took a, downturn after winning the hopeful Grade 1 sprint at Saratoga. But then he got epiglottis surgery after those 2 races where he kind of hung up. Apparently it helped out. He was second in the Southwest, charging hard down the stretch. That was an 8 furlong race. Looked like he wanted another furlong. I think another half a furlong and he would have caught Conveyance. But he does have a triple-digit speed figure on his record. He's going to be up in the Rebel next against Conveyance. That's going to be a great matchup. And Wayne Lucas finally has a legitimate Derby contender for this year. Remember, Fleet Alex, his sire, falling down or halfway falling down in the Preakness and then going on to win it. I mean, that was just an amazing horse. And this is a good quality horse here, Dublin. Ron the Greek. Well, notice how I didn't cover any of the first 5 finishers in the Risen Star, but I'm covering the 6th place horse. There's a reason for this. He has my composite best late pace run. He's the best late runner of any of these Derby horses, any of these 3-year-olds that we've covered so far. And he didn't get to run it in the Risen Star. They lollygagged around in almost 49 seconds for the half in an 8.5 furlong race. And that's just not cutting it. I mean, he didn't get to run his race there. They were lollygaggers. However, he does have the AP Indy curse out of full mandate, so he won't win the Kentucky Derby, but he may win the Louisiana Derby, and he will probably win the Belmont. So keep him on your radar. That's my Derby dozen. Now for the rest of the top 25, I mixed in the rest of your Risen Star finishers. Discreetly Mine won it. He's not going to do any better than that in any Derby prep. A couple sprinters there by the Dutro brothers. I think they should try their hands at route. And I also like a horse named Hamish High, who has a very good late running ability there as well. Look for your Gotham contenders, Super Saver by Pletcher, and possibly Peppy Nose if you want to put them in your stable. That's all I got. Like I said, 25 horses in 10 minutes or less. If you want to keep up with the current rankings, you got to go to horseracebetwin.com. Be a winner, not a whiner. get your rankings there. We'll see you next time.